look back in hindsight, everything is 2020. In hindsight, we make mistakes, we're learning from it. In hindsight, shaping your today and your tomorrow. In hindsight, it's so much clearer now.
Welcome back to another episode of Hindsight the Podcast. I'm your host, Lee Jones, and today I have a truly inspiring guest joining me. Hey, Amy.
Hello, Lee. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for joining me. This is so short notice, and I really appreciate you jumping in and making the time to have a conversation.
Absolutely.
So Amy is the owner of Hite Digital based in Norman, Oklahoma. Amy's journey is one of resilience and transformation. From assisting in open heart surgery, that's pretty amazing as a nurse, to becoming a successful entrepreneur. She's faced numerous challenges and emerged victorious, right? So we're going to touch on a few of those things today. And, you know, the show is Hindsight the Podcast. So, Amy, feel free to pump my brakes because I may get a little deep, right? But we definitely want to explore those challenges because you're on the other side, right? You've overcome definitely a lot of these things, and it's things that a lot of us out here are dealing with right now. And, you know, just to try to get some of those encouraging words to help get us all over the hump. So
for sure.
With her husband, she also she launched the digital marketing business, proving that even the most unexpected paths can lead to success. So welcome to Hindsight the Podcast.
Thank you. Hindsight is 2020, isn't it?
It's 2020, I tell you what. But it's only as good as what you do with it. You know what I mean? So many times we do things over and over and over again. They talk about that insanity stuff, right? Doing it, expecting a different outcome, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. So for me, and I'll tell you a little bit about me before we get started, because I like to have these conversations as if you and I, we just met and now we are developing a relationship, a friendship. Right. Mm-hmm. So I just want to get to know a little bit about you and I'll tell you a little bit about me. The Hindsight the Podcast was really a podcast that was created to help veterans transition from the military. I'm a veteran myself, 26 years in the military. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And, you know, when it came time to transition from the military, there were a lot of challenges. So a friend of mine, Eric Gonzalez, we decided to do this podcast so that we can talk about some of the challenges that we had. And then we would invite veterans who also had transitioned and to just tell their story, what they're doing now, you know, once to show, hey, it's not doom and gloom once you leave the military, right? Yeah. So tell me just a little bit about you.
Well, like you said, I'm in Oklahoma City. I was born and raised here my entire life within about a 10-mile radius. So that's been interesting as I've learned how people in other places do things. You know, I've been in this very like kind of micro community my entire life. I was, my parents are still married together today. So like very traditional values. I would say kind of a middle class, lower middle class, all-American family, so to speak. No entrepreneurs in my family. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. She had like an in-home daycare pretty much most of my life, you know, had a few odd jobs here and there. Dad worked in a warehouse, very blue collar family. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. He died when I was 5. And he's probably, it's kind of weird to say, but he was the closest person. I was the closest to him. We had a very kindred spirit. He died when I was 5. He died with a 12-year AA chip in his pocket. I myself just, I didn't receive a chip because I don't attend meetings anymore, but I celebrated my 6-year sobriety date on this past Monday, which was April 1st myself.
Congratulations.
So, thank you very much. A lot of parallels in our lives and as far as that goes. But man, I grew up thinking I was bound for stages, born for greatness. I like to tell people I was born with a little too much spice for the Oklahoma gravy, because if people don't know what like Southern gravy is, it's like flour, water, and bacon grease and salt and pepper. Like there's very little spice to it, right? It's real plain. Right. But so I would tell people all the time that my real mom was Dolly Parton. in front of my very ordinary real mom, because I just knew like I just knew something was in me. Right.
Right.
But I was an awkward child. My goodness. I was chubby, overweight the entire time growing up, really loud, kind of obnoxious, was always the one being told that, shh, quiet down, sit down, shut up, be quiet. My gosh, you're so much, you're so loud, all these things. And so, high school, junior high school was tough. Kids are mean. I wanted so badly to be like the cheerleader. That was never going to happen. So I became like the mascot of my high school.
Okay.
And I was in the drama and the choir, and I was trying to get adjacency to all these cool people. And long story short, I let fear hold me back from so much in my life. I wanted to be a doctor. At first I wanted to be a performer. That was not going to happen. Like I had no idea how that was going to happen for me here in Oklahoma. So then I was like, well, I'm going to be a doctor. Let fear hold me back from that. Became a registered nurse. That was going to be quicker for me to do, cheaper for, no one had been to college. I didn't know what college, like how do you navigate college? What's medical school? I didn't know. I didn't have a lot of support from that perspective, just because my parents weren't really equipped with that sort of knowledge. Right. We didn't grow up that way, but long story short, I became a nurse, did open heart surgeries for over a decade. Like you said, learned all kinds of stuff about the body. And I had to retire from that job in 2012 because, number one, I was very overweight at one time during that job. I was over almost 300 pounds. I had gastric bypass surgery, gotten divorced from my ex-husband, had cancer, had a whole bunch of medical issues happen to me. I was diagnosed with lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, all kinds of things that ended up taking that job away from me. I had to retire from nursing, became very depressed and very, I actually started drinking. Like I said, I was sober 6 years, started drinking from that depression and all the things that were going on in my life. And finally started working on me again. Got some therapy, that's a really long story of how you kind of come out of that darkness. But I made my way out of the darkness, met my new husband. Now I've been with him nearly 8 years. Joseph is my partner, and he was a serial entrepreneur. Okay. And he was working out of state, long way away. And we were trying to bring him home, trying to get me doing something again. But physically, nursing is a very difficult job. My body doesn't really handle that very well. So he's like, who I paid a lot of money to over the years in my businesses? Marketers, people I felt like I couldn't trust. I never got results. I didn't know what was happening. It wasn't my zone of genius. He's like, and then he said these 4 words to me that sparked what we're doing today. He said, we can do better. Businesses deserve better. And so I was like, you know what, you're right. So I dug in, I started learning, I hired experts and coaches and classes and all of these things to teach me. And our business has kind of been reiterated a few, over the last 5 years. But now, like you said, we are a full service digital marketing agency helping businesses establish themselves as authoritative brands, authoritative in their niches, and turning their websites into lead generating machines so that they can go out and be in their zone of genius, doing the painting work or the attorney work or whatever the work it is that they do. And of course, we work with a lot of medical clients because of my background in medicine. Doctors and providers like to speak with someone that get their language. And because of Joseph, my partner's background in home services, painting, construction, oil field, all these very white man, middle-aged Oklahoma things. Like he can really speak their language as well. So we've had a really great run with our marketing agency and are really excited to help people grow.
I love it.
That's a lot in a short amount of time.
You told a lot more about you than I told you about me.
That's all right. Right.
But here we go. So let's unpack some of that. All right. You said as a child, what struck me is you said as a child, you let fear hold you back, but it seemed like you were really outgoing. So what was the conflict in you right there? And was your outgoing a little, I don't know, coping mechanism, or what was that to you, that experience?
No, my outgoing is very innate, natural in me to be out and first and forward. I wanted to be a leader. I wanted to pass out the papers. I wanted to lead the line. I wanted to talk in front of people. I wanted to lead people. But I did that. I did that. Of course, I didn't do it in a very leaderly way as a child. It was kind of a, a bull in a china closet, probably. But it was really, let's see, fifth, sixth grade, for sure by the seventh grade, for sure by junior high. My spirit had been basically crushed by other humans.
Gotcha.
Kids are mean. Kids, when you don't fit in, you're constantly looking for a place to fit in. And I never fit in. I wanted to be a part of a group of people that got me and understood me, and that, and so I looked for those groups all over, in the choir and in the drama and in the with different, activities and leadership, and tried out for student council and ran for office in student council, never won anything like that. So it was just constant rejection from others, really, other people, mostly other people my age. There were lots of adults in my life as well that, shh, quiet, be quiet, sit down, hush, this and that. And, it occurred to me later on that I would kind of be thrust upon a stage at certain times as a kid, like, oh, Amy, sing for everybody. But if I was just singing on my own, it was kind of like, hey, be quiet. The adults are talking. It's time for this. So it was kind of like on other people's terms when I was able to be myself.
Okay.
So that was kind of an interesting perspective that I got later, but I wasn't like the class clown to cope with, for that type of reason. I was very naturally inclined to be outgoing and joyous and loud and singing and dancing and fidgeting all of the time. But I think slowly over the years, especially, from about the 10 to 13 age, you get sort of pigeonholed into what you're supposed to be, right? We're all in school, you stand in line, you be quiet, you do this, you do that. And so then just the expectations of others, the fact it was very obvious that I wasn't like the other girls. I was heavier. I was, I had curly, wild, untamed hair. I wasn't the one that was doing my eyebrows, at all. It was just, I was sort of feral, I guess, in a lot of ways. And I just didn't fit in with the other girls.
Oh. So what did fear hold you back from then? You said fear held you back.
Yeah, for sure. From pursuing my acting and singing and dancing pursuits.
Okay.
Yeah, like performance type pursuit is what I really wanted to do early. I weigh less now than I did in junior high school. So if that gives you any kind of perspective,
gotcha.
like the leading lady is not a size 12 when she's 12, right?
Yeah.
She's not who I was.
Right.
There was always someone better. There was always someone that, the teacher preferred or whatever. So, I would just always fall into wherever I could be a part of the group,
Yeah. Okay.
It was like I was always taking that second seat. And so I think if I had less fear and kind of pushed into that more and kept pursuing, but every tiny rejection would have me pull back, because I didn't have the support I needed or someone in my life equipped to guide or coach me through that experience. So I was just different, and I didn't know how to push through that fear. And then later on, like I said, I wanted to be a doctor, and I let fear of time, fear of money, fear of failing, fear of not knowing what's going. I mean, no one in my family even had an associate's degree, much less an MD.
Right.
So like, how do you even go to college? Maybe it was partially fear, partially just ignorance, a lot of ignorance and not knowing what's possible for me. And then, now looking back, I think the biggest fear of all was the fear of success. Not knowing what happens when you succeed. How does someone in my family from Oklahoma deal with money? How do we deal with getting our picture on the front of a magazine like this? How do we what happens when that happens? Because that was something really unfamiliar to me and uncomfortable and something that I would never have thought was possible for me. Okay. And so that's a big fear of a lot of people, is outshining those around them, outshining those in their own family, outshining those, who do you think you are? Who are you to go and be somebody?
Oh, yeah.
Don't forget who you are. You remember Jenny I'm still Jenny from the block.
Yeah.
Used to have a little, now I have a lot.
Yeah.
I know where I came from.
Yeah.
And that whole thing can kind of get put on you as a person, who are you? You just went to this. I mean, my goodness, look at the Bible. Like, who's Jesus? He's just Joseph's son. I mean, he's just some carpenter's kid. Like, he couldn't even have success in his own hometown, right? So I think a big part of my fear overall was that fear of succeeding and not knowing what to do with that.
That's pretty awesome. So, I mean, that's good. That's a good perspective, I should say, not necessarily awesome, because I know it's challenging going through it. And, you know, a lot of
For
us,
sure.
and actually, I won't say a lot of us, I'll say me, you know, we go through similar things, right? And, you know, you're searching for a group to be a part of. And the rejections are hard. I mean, they're hard, period, throughout life, but they're really crushing as a child, right? And just having that
Hmm.
spirit and having that understanding of how to navigate it takes work, right? But you talked about open heart surgery, assisting in that. How briefly, like how was that? Because I really want to touch on the next step, but how is it being in an operating room and having someone's chest cut open and assisting in that? How did you deal with that?
Yeah, it's intense,
Yeah.
For me, I've always had very much a helper's spirit, a servant's
Okay.
heart. And so for me, being in that room was a place for me to be an advocate for someone. That person
Mm,
was completely under anesthesia. There's a million experts with their hands touching them and, like
yeah.
literally in their heart, touching their
Yeah.
heart, and they can't speak for themselves.
Mm,
So that was my job is their advocate to be
okay.
their spokesperson during that. So not just that, but like ministering to the families that were outside. For me and our team, that was an everyday occurrence. It was something that we were really good at. It was like a very well-oiled machine. No matter what happened, we knew what to do.
Hmm.
But for that family, that's like one of the biggest days of their lives. So being able to give the updates and navigate and guide them through
Yeah.
was a joy. As far as in the room, it's intense.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's kind of like if you think about a painting crew going to paint a house, like they're
Hmm.
having fun and they're listening to music and they're doing the thing. It's important work and they're going to do it right.
Right.
That's the way our team was as well. We listened to music. Sometimes like we'd
Hmm.
have
Hmm.
OU games playing on the radio. Like it was just, it was very much a family environment, really fast paced, a lot of hard work, but
Hmm.
really fulfilling.
You know, that was my next progression. So it was very fulfilling, and when that came to an end for you,
Mm,
you took to drinking, right? How
yeah.
how long did you find yourself in that depression, and how long did it take before you realized that you needed help with the alcohol?
Hmm. Oh, that's a lot to unpack. But quickly, I'll just say, it wasn't really just like the loss of that job that got me to drinking. It was really the pain I was experiencing, physical pain.
Okay.
I had broken my back. I was
Mm,
in a wheelchair at one point with my lupus and rheumatoid arthritis. I was really like in a crippling state.
yeah.
Um, but what led me to that, truly, I will say, is my identity from childhood had
Hmm.
really, had been tied to something outside myself.
Okay.
Especially like when I met my first husband, I was 12 years old. We were best friends all growing up through the time,
Mm,
we met. So my identity was very much tied to that husband. When that left, that was really tough. My identity
hmm.
was very much tied to my nursing career. When that left me, and both of those choices were not my own. My first
Hmm.
husband actually is gay.
Hmm.
And so that was a very interesting end to a marriage and children and all those things. And
Hmm.
then my health robbed me of my second career. So those things my identity had been tied to were stripped away from me one by one.
Yeah.
And so the drinking came after having been on about 35 different medications. I was on pain pills, muscle relaxers, mental health medications, anti-anxiety, you name it. I was
Yeah.
on the medicine. And so as a nurse, even though I'd retired from nursing, I knew this is bad. Like this is not going
Yeah.
in a good direction. So, and I don't recommend anyone do this, but I cold turkeyed off of all of those things.
Hmm.
And then societally, I was like, okay, well, I don't want to take morphine pills, which I was taking for my pain. I don't want to do all these things that I know are bad. So what can I do to help ease my pain? Well, alcohol is over the
Mm,
counter. You can get it on every corner. It's socially acceptable. Maybe that will help numb some of my pain. And it
yeah.
did for a time. And then it
Hmm.
took more and more because I drank normally I was like the little strawberry daiquiri one, maybe wouldn't even finish it before that. So I
Okay.
thought, but I should have known. My grandfather, a couple of my uncles, it kind
Yeah.
of ran in my family, but I felt like it maybe wouldn't affect me. But slowly it did. And then what took me out of that, Lee, was really, I had really distanced myself from people.
Mm,
Everyone. I was extremely depressed, suicidal,
mm,
nearly took my own life many, many times
hmm.
here in my own home. But it took someone else reaching out to me. It was just an acquaintance. It was kind of a friend in a group of friends. It was like, hey, I see you really disconnected. And I had started like what I call vague booking, like Facebook posts that are just sort of like reaching for help, but not really asking for help. Like, hey, I'm feeling really down today, you know, and I hadn't posted anything in like a year or whatever. And I was really depressed. So all of a sudden I started vague booking. And so this guy was like, what's going on with Amy? And he called me and he was like, look, you're better than this. You are an amazing human. He put you through some bad crap. You've been through some bad crap with your work and your marriage and all this, but you have so much ahead of you. I was like 28, you know, it wasn't even like, it was, you know, in early 30s maybe, but so much life ahead. So he comes, knocks on my door and took me out of my home, took me to lunch and really just had a heart to heart with me. I was like, look, you got to start taking some steps forward. And those steps were tiny steps, Lee, like to my mailbox to grab the mail, to the kitchen to feed myself, to the bathroom to take a shower. Like I was so depressed. I wasn't moving at all. Gotcha. So it just took someone else reaching out. So, and it couldn't have been the person, you know, it couldn't have been someone close to me because I'd really rejected so many of those close to me. Everyone was at an arm's length because I was hurting so bad physically and emotionally and spiritually. And my identity was broken and everything within me was so broken. I couldn't be near people that I loved or that cared about me because I just felt so disconnected from myself as well.
Well, that's, you bring up some points in your journey, you know, through this. I was talking to another guest on another episode and they were saying how when we're stuck, we got to find the courage to just take one step, right? Go take a shower, you know, go make something to eat, go change your clothes.
Because I was sitting on my couch, laying on my couch, just trying to figure out every way to just not be depressed anymore. Like it was just going to be a switch that turned from off to on or on to off rather. And it's definitely not that way. You know, you see these like what people think success looks like. And really it's like, oh crap, you know, like it's in cursive and it's up and down and all around. And it's really like that. It's very individualized for every person, but it does start with just a tiny step. One. Yeah.
So you had a lot of challenges and, you know, a lot of us do, right? Some you've had a lot of health challenge. I mean, not as extensive as the things that you were going through, right? And you've overcome it. You're done. You said 6 years with the alcohol, right?
That's right, 6 years.
Right. So can you just tell just a little bit about? We talked about the hard part, your journey from being a nurse.
Yeah, that has been wild. I didn't know anything about business ownership before. And it is the most spiritual journey I think that anybody can embark on. Okay. You learn so much about yourself. You know, all of a sudden there's you're the provider. Like you're the one that makes everything happen. Everything is on your shoulders. So, it's been a very, very enlightening, experience. And I have to say that, you know, really it can provide so much clarity on your life and your goals, and how to achieve them when everything is on your shoulders suddenly. You know, it's a journey that really can't be described unless you've been in it, you know? Okay. It's something that, it's just unexpected to not ever have done something like that before. It's been a wild ride, with a lot of personal development, a lot of spiritual development, and a lot of looking at yourself going, okay, well, if you worked for you, how would you judge you?
That's an amazing question.
That's a good question. If you were working for you, how would your report card look?
Damn it. Back to the drawing board.
I know, I'm a C student all of a sudden. I was always an A student.
What were some of the challenges that you faced during that transition?
Just for me, even just speaking in front of people at first
was terrifying.
One. Yeah. You know, I had not had to do that for any reason, like talk about myself. You know, in the hospital, people come to you. They need your surgery. Like, of course, there's marketing people and all that. They're taking care of everything. But my work came directly to me and I knew exactly what to do. And there was a system and a process for that thing. And when you start doing something on your own, there's not that. So developing that system that you're going to use, that process that you're going to follow, was very difficult and something we didn't do for a long time. But that's the way you have to grow.
Right.
Some of the challenges was letting go of control of certain things. When you start the business, you're doing everything. You're doing the marketing and you're doing the fulfillment and you're doing everything. And eventually, if you grow the way you should, you're going to have to offload some of those things to other people, and finding the right people to do that was a challenge, especially for a control freak like me. That's a challenge. Recognizing that I'm not an expert in finance and I need a CPA and a bookkeeper and all these other people to support me in what I'm doing, and a business attorney that can help us with applications and contracts and all of these things, insurance, things that I would have never thought I'd need to think about, or all of a sudden things we have to think about as a business owner, where you don't have to do that in corporate when you're just punching in for a paycheck.
Even going from the going from the Army, just to regular work, and then trying to do some entrepreneurial stuff. The Army is so structured, right? You don't have to think about it, right? It's so, and everyone's like, oh, it's hard. Maybe to do certain things, it's difficult, but you understand exactly what it is that you need to do. And going to to that type of environment, to an entrepreneurial mindset, can be challenging, right?
Yeah,
and,
you wake up like, okay, what do I do today? There ain't nobody telling me what to do. There's nobody standing over you saying, do this at this time, this way. Yeah, because you got to figure that out now.
Right.
That's hard.
It is hard. Hey, so one, thank you for sharing some of your struggles. I know it could have been hard, but you talked about it pretty openly, so I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Now I want to talk about the company. I want to talk about Hite. This is what I'm excited about. Right. Yeah. Because hopefully I can steal some tips or some hacks or something like that when it comes to marketing that you'll give to all of us on here for free. But first of all, tell us just a little bit about Hite. Tell us about Hite Digital.
Yeah. So Hite Digital is a full service digital marketing agency. We are headquartered in Nicaragua.
Okay.
Started this business, JC and Karen Hite. He is from Arkansas and she is from Nicaragua. And he had a calling early on his life. He knew that he would impact Central America in some way. God told him that as a young man. And he had massive success in banking and in marketing in many areas before. He had traveled all over Central America in a long roundabout way, ended up in Nicaragua with Karen. They're married. They have 2 beautiful children. And our goal is to impact this country. It has been ravaged by war, by civil war and political instability. The education rate is very low, about the 3rd grade. So our mission is to impact a country by providing jobs and employment and education to people. So most of our fulfillment team lives there. We have some other team members across the world and in the United States as well. And then we have locations across the United States that serve our customers in marketing. And so we have a local, like we're in Oklahoma, so we serve a lot of people in Oklahoma, of course, coast to coast as well. We're not restrained by any bounds, but providing a marketing agency that has a local, right here in the United States, we know the place, we know the people, we know the regional vernacular, like we know the people, and then to be providing other people with amazing jobs that provide for their families and their children and to educate them has been our goal from the very beginning. So we do things like branding, logos, brand messaging language is really one of our big things that we push. And because no matter what you say in your marketing, if you're saying the wrong, no matter how much you spend or how much marketing you do, if you're saying the wrong thing, then we're not going to have success. So we work with people on getting their story straight, so to speak, with their messaging. We build beautiful websites as well, of course, and do search engine optimization and paid advertising, which search engine optimization is the thing that really mystifies a lot of business owners, and how to get your website to show up when people are searching for things, because there's a big difference in just having a website, like a digital business card, and then having a website that shows up when people search for terms related to your industry. Totally different conversation.
All right. So this is what I want to know. Well, let's not get to that because I'm jumping the gun. I'm being selfish. I'm trying to know for
That's
myself.
all right. I'm an open book, and I teach and share a lot. We teach and share with our chambers of commerce, with like networking groups constantly, because it's such a confusing space for most people.
So when a client reaches out to you, what is their normal position in their business or in their growth when they reach out to you? What is usually the cause of, hey, I'm calling you because?
Because it's one of two things. I don't know what to do in my marketing, or I'm unhappy with my marketing company.
Okay.
One of those two usually. Yeah. A lot of people come and say, I think I need social media management. And usually the conversation is, okay, let's talk about why you think you need social media management. Let's talk about what else you're doing. Let's talk about what you want leads for. Let's have a conversation about the strategy that you're already doing and see what else we can do to supplement that, improve that, and move your business forward.
Okay. Yeah. My SEO is horrible. Like no one's reaching out to me. No one's checking my website. The analytics are, showing that, I'm getting below par hits. What is your first conversation? Now I know you have to have it like, well, what do you do? And all of these different things, right? But what holistically would you tell your customers or tell your partners in this situation? Do you give them a history lesson on what SEO is and how it works, how does that conversation go?
Yes, typically, so much education has to go into it. It depends on the person. Like some people really want to know like how things work. Some people just go, do the thing, make my phone ring, right? So it depends on the person. So honestly, my very first discovery calls, I actually, most of the time I'll run people through the bank code because I want to know the way, like the personality, the way that they communicate, what's important to them so that I can give them the information that is important to them. I have lots of clients that care about the analytics, right?
All right. What's the bank? You said the bank
BANK bank code. It's I have these. It's like this little. It's a communication format.
Okay.
That basically, are you inside the box, outside the box? Do you engineer the box or do you recycle the box?
Oh, I love it.
So it kind of tells you like someone's personality. But I like to start. I like to start there with my calls so I can know the person if I don't already know the way they communicate. But many times, it starts with education. So I ask them what platform they're built on. Okay. Where is your website built? Is it on Weebly, Wix, WordPress, Squarespace? This matters. Okay. It matters for speed. It matters for functionality on the back end. So search engine optimization is three things, essentially. It is structure and like it's the technical aspect. So where the website is built, like what platform it's built on, what it looks like on the back end, tags and titles and description and speed and image size and all of these kind of technical aspects. That's really the image sizes. Like if your image sizes are too large, it will make your website take longer to load. So again, if your website's not loading quickly, someone's backing out and going to the next one, right?
Gotcha.
So all of that technical aspect. Including the on-page experience. What are people seeing when they come to your website? What are they looking at? What are they reading? What does it say? How is it easy to use? Is it mobile friendly? All of those kind of things. Then the next piece of search engine optimization is vote for your website. So basically other websites on the internet talking about your websites. So say if you're a financial advisor and Forbes writes a blog article and mentions you and they link back to your website, that's going to give your website a lot of credibility with Google. Google's going to say, oh, Forbes is talking about this financial advisor. Let's give them more authority, right? So, and there's lots of, and I'm not Forbes. Most people are not getting links with Forbes, right? But you can pay for links with Forbes. But you, the other places that your website is listed, that your business is listed online, it should be the same way everywhere you're listed. So your name, address, and phone number should be exactly the same on your Yelp listing, on your Facebook listing, on your Google business profile, on your website, everywhere that you're listed online. Those should all be the same. Because if you ask your child, okay, what are you doing Friday night? And they say, well, we're going to the mall. And then they say, well, we're going to the Southwest Mall. And they say, well, we're going to SW Mall. And you're going, okay, kid, where are you going? Because I'm starting to not believe you. I'm starting to not trust you. So same way with Google. If your business says I'm at 123 Main Street and something else says you're at 321 Main Street, Google says, something's mismatched here. They must not be authoritative, relevant, doing what they say they're doing, where they say they're doing it. We're going to devalue that. So kind of that whole middle piece, votes from other websites, and the other websites where your business can be listed. We call those citations or local listings. Those are very important to your business as well online. And then the last piece, and probably the most important, especially after those first two things are taken care of, is the content, helpful content. We're talking about answering. Your website must answer the questions that people are Googling or searching about your industry, about your business. So Google's goal is to, whenever I make a search, so if I go and I search painter near me, Google's going to go out on the internet and it says, oh, our customer Amy has a question, because I am Google's customer. It wants me to come back again and again for my answers so that they can put ads in front of my face. That's their revenue stream. That's it. They want me to come to them for my source of information so they can put ads, right? Okay. So when I go and I search painter near me, Google goes out and scans the billions of websites on the internet and says, okay, who's closest to where she is right now? It doesn't want to give me a painter in Dallas because I'm in Oklahoma City. So it wants to say, who's the closest to where she is? Then whose website answers the questions that she has? Because Google knows what other questions I might ask, right? If you ever Google something and you see people also ask, okay? Those are the questions your website should be answering. And when you go and see it, quick tip, go Google your industry. If I go and Google, SEO agency in Oklahoma City, I'm going to see people also ask. If you click in and out of people also ask, that will expand like an accordion with all the other questions that someone is likely to ask about SEO in my area. Those questions are questions I can go and answer on my blog. That way Google says, oh, so what does Google want to give me when I Google painter near me? Is it going to give me a slow website? Is it going to give me one that's not mobile friendly? If I might be on my phone, it's not going to serve up a website that's not friendly to me, because if I don't get the answer I'm looking for from Google, I'm going to leave and I might go to Bing, God forbid, or DuckDuckGo or someone else. Google doesn't want that. It wants me to get my answers quickly. It wants to serve up the websites that have the fastest experience, the best experience. I love it. Mobile friendly, that's tablet friendly, no matter where I'm at. It's going, so no difference than being in person. You don't want to serve up a crappy customer service agent or someone who opens the door really slow. You want them to welcome you in and have all of the right answers. It's no different online. We have to have our website giving all of the right answers, being a beautiful experience for people, being fast, being of value for people. So, for example, on a website that my husband and I owned, a business that we owned, we sold last year to one of our painting contractors. It was a painting website. So in the very beginning, what we were trying to do with our business is, before we partnered with Hite, we were acting like a local home advisor. So if you're familiar with the way Home Advisor works, I go and I look and as a customer, I want a paint job at this house, right? And so then Home Advisor takes that lead, I'm a lead, and they give it to 6-10 different painters. Next thing you know, every painter in town's on the horn to me going, hey, we want to come paint your house. We want to come paint your house. We want to come paint your house. Let me give you a quote. I don't want 10 painters at my house giving me quotes. Not really. Like, get off me, right? And then the painters are in a race to the bottom to give me the cheapest price because they're all competing for my business, right? So what we did instead was we went out and we built quality websites and did search engine optimization on them, and continued that to get leads coming in. So we had about 25 different websites in various industries. One of those industries was painting. My husband had a background in painting, so I know a lot about that. He couldn't find what we were doing was taking those leads when the websites would start to rank, taking those leads and partnering exclusively with a contractor so that he just gets that one lead and we're not making them compete. And then the customer's happy. Everybody's happy. It was a great model. My husband, the painter and entrepreneur, entrepreneur, couldn't find a painter that he thought was really worth his salt. And he's like, he couldn't unsee the value of those leads coming in. He knows what a paint job's worth, right? Like, we're not going to let these go. So next thing you knew, just because all we had was a website and a Google business profile, we had a business, and we had 3 painting crews running for well over a year, ended up selling that business, but we proved the concept of a website and search engine optimization. Now, one of the top ranking pages on that website was a blog article answering the question, how much does a painter make per hour? Believe you and I may not Google how much does a painter make per. If I'm going to paint my house, that's probably not the first thing I'm going to Google, but we have to think about our customer. Our customer at the very, very top of the funnel. Too many business owners want someone to land on their website and marry them. Like, land on the website, call me, get your quote right away. Let's do business. Give me the check. Let's go.
That's the goal.
People are not ready for that's the goal, right? But people aren't ready for that. They want a date. They want a cup of coffee. They want to know more about us. So we answer the question, how much does a painter make per hour? Because we know there's women sitting in their living room, scrolling their phone, looking, going, man, that paint job looks like crap. I wonder if we could do this ourselves. I wonder how much paint costs. I wonder what painters even cost per hour. Like, they're thinking about the fact that their house needs a paint job. They're not thinking, I'm going to call a contractor and get someone to come in here and do this. They're thinking about what it would take to get the job done. So when our blog answers that question, we bring them to our website. We tell them all about how much we pay our painters, how much they could pay a painter. But then we also position ourselves as the expert who is insured, who's been doing this for years, who knows the reasons why they wouldn't want to hire an individual painter to come do that. And then they're further and further down into our funnel. We give them free value. We give them something on our website that allows them to do it yourself. Give them a DIY guide. You get them in your email sequence. Then you start nurturing them and bringing them further down into your funnel so that they finally will marry you and hire you for the paint job and give you money. We just can't do it the other way around.
I love it.
That's the way search engine optimization works. It is a long-term game. It's that blue chip stock in your business that eventually does pay off. And it's hard at first to wait, but it's a zero-sum game, Lee. Once you're there, unless someone else comes and knocks you off your pedestal, like, you just keep doing what you're doing and your phone's going to keep ringing for the services that you provide.
Woo. I am good. See, this is exactly why I was excited about you coming on the show. This is like a masterclass, right? It's a few minutes, but you really wrapped it up. And you know, understanding that your clients will get a much broader hands-on approach to helping them figure that whole SEO magic out. That was great, though. I was, you know, you saw me writing. I'm writing notes.
Oh, you're writing down notes. Good.
So how long have you and your husband, you both started with Hite together?
Yes.
Okay, so when did y'all start Hite?
We've been with Hite about 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, we were doing it on our own for about 2 years before that. It's been phenomenal to be able to have, data from other people. So we have 600 clients coast to coast. So obviously any marketing agency has data, they have access to data that other people can provide them. But we also have, collectively, because of our massive client count and everyone across the United States, we collaborate. I was on a phone call with them this morning, with my team this morning, talking about things. So we're able to not just take national data, we are able to take our own data from across the United States, in all the different types of clients we serve. We spend I can't even remember, I think $12 million in Google ads, per quarter. So like we have a lot of data and a lot of experience, in being able to do these things, most marketing agencies, most people don't understand how this works. Most marketing agencies are one or two people who are raising their hand saying, I'm a marketing expert. I will sell you a website, or I will sell you SEO. And then what they do is they take your business and they do what we call white label that search engine optimization to someone they don't know, what they usually call a white label partner. It's typically someone out of the country that they don't have a relationship with. They don't train. They don't QA. They don't have any control over that deliverable. that's what we have the difference in. We train our team. We have an entire team that just does SEO. We have an entire team that just does our creative. We have just developers that do the websites. We have just, social media strategists for the social media ads. Everyone is in their own department. They have their own quality control, their own training with our team. And we foster those, not just their training in the individual expertise that they have, but their person. We really like to develop our people in their personal interests, their personal pursuits, their spiritual interests and pursuits. And we really like to hire from within and promote from within. Like I said, we're trying to change a nation and in the United States country as well with our small teams here and all the clients we are able to serve here. So it's been a very beautiful experience to be so aligned with people. We have very aligned values. And so we're able to be a bit more choosy about the clients we serve as well, that make sure their values are aligned with us. And that's a really beautiful place to be because we can serve one another better.
Right.
We can be partners in that. And not just a commodity to our clients. We actually added a swag department as well in the last couple of years because so many of our clients need the shirts, the cups, the pens, those things. We want to be able to provide that for them. So we brought that in under our umbrella.
So if any of our listeners or watchers are interested in upping their game, their digital marketing game, please reach out to Amy, Hite Digital in Oklahoma, but you can still reach out to her if you're in New York, if you're in California, it doesn't matter, right? They have a network across the country. So
we have clients from all over.
So now let's go to another one of your passions. As the host of Queen's Lead, you highlight women making an impact in business. What inspired you to start that podcast?
The women just haven't had the stage, as you well know, but especially in marketing and especially in business, I wanted to provide a place for women to come and tell their stories. There are so many phenomenal women that are doing incredible things, and so often a man's name's on it. No offense, Lee, but like lots of times there's a man's name on the front of that building or on the front of that nonprofit, and women finally have a seat at the table, which I'm so proud of. That we're, being accepted more in business and especially in marketing. Digital marketing especially, is very male dominated industry. They look to women for things like design or, the pretty stuff or organization. But honestly, the brass tacks of marketing is very analytical. It's very data driven, and there's very few women in that industry. So I just wanted to put a spotlight on women that are doing amazing things for their families, their businesses, their communities, and uplift other women so that they can see what's possible.
So what advice do you have for aspiring women entrepreneurs looking to make their mark in a male-dominated industry or in male-dominated industries?
Yeah. Embrace it. Go in with an open mind. Give where you can. Show your value, lead with what you can offer, but stay humble at the same time. We can't go in like with our chest all puffed up like women rule and expect to get that seat. We have to approach it in a collaborative fashion and show where we can bring value that sometimes men can't bring. Sometimes we have an insight and a perspective that's completely different, and so not being men haters either. I am a mom of boys. I absolutely love men and boys of all kinds, like my nephews, my sons, of course, my husband. And so I think that a lot of men who want to support us get overlooked. And so partnering up with those men who will be a support to us as well, I think is really wise to do. But yeah, Queen, go for it. Tell someone what you're thinking about doing. I think we as women, we have a lot of thoughts and we think about doing things. We're afraid to post that out on our social media. Like, hey, I'm thinking about starting a business, or I'm thinking about this. Yeah. This is a marketing tactic that we use all the time. That, if we're thinking about a new product, we'll just put it out there to test. Just make a post. If you have a following, put it out there to test, to see if there's interest. I made a post this morning that said, I've had so much interest, and I have, in marketing coaching Who would be interested in that? I might take 5 people, and already I had at least 5 people DMing me going, yeah, I'm interested in that. So
Beautiful.
It's a great way to test out what you might have in your thoughts there. But don't be afraid to tell people about what you're doing or what you're thinking about doing. More people than you know will rally around to support you. Probably not your closest friends and family at first. It's usually strangers and people in your industry. Lean into people in your industry as well. I will say, especially women, I think we get a little competitive because we feel like there's such limited space at the table. So like if you're thinking about going into marketing, you may look at other people on your feed and go, well, I couldn't do that because she's already there. Or, she's my competition. No, make friends with them. Make friends with your competition. See where you can serve one another. Maybe you hate social ads, but they love them, and vice versa with something else. There's always room for collaboration. There is room for success for everyone. There really is enough to go around. I think that's something I had to learn the hard way.
That's a great answer. I appreciate that. So, Amy, I've asked you a few questions. Some about your personal life, some about your business, and your passions. What is something that maybe I missed, I didn't ask you, that you feel is important that you want to put out there to the listeners?
Have conversations with yourself and have conversations, especially with the younger version of yourself. I think loving myself has probably been the hardest journey that I've ever had to embark on. Undoing, I heard someone say, I think it was Sally Field on a podcast the other day, said, unknitting the sweater of our childhood. And all of the things that we've put on to protect ourselves from the labels that we've been, those, too loud, too much, middle class, all of these labels that we've placed on ourselves. And undoing those and realizing that it's as easy as just pulling off a Post-it note of that label. I think that was the IT cosmetics lady said that on a podcast the other day, and it was really mind blowing of removing the labels of our childhood and really speaking truth into who you are, speaking truth about your identity, about your worth, about your value. And about the lies that you told yourself as a child. I speak out loud to little girl Amy all the time and say, you were okay. You were not enough. You were beautiful. You weren't too big. You weren't too much. You were on the right track. Wait until you see you one day. It sounds crazy, but when you start speaking those words to yourself and speaking life and love and value and worth into you, you will have more success than you could ever dream of.
Yeah, and it really doesn't sound crazy because you are still you. You are still little Amy. You're
That's
just
right.
older, right?
Yeah.
I have these conversations all the time. Like, I'm still who I was, and sometimes coming to grips with those differences, right? The journey and all of that, right? But just understanding that you're still that same person. That's amazing. And then encouraging them because you're carrying those same things sometimes that you were when you were a child. And that is an amazing message, Amy. Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Let's do it.
How can someone reach out to you, or where can they find Hite Digital online? All of these different things.
Yeah, absolutely. The quickest way to get a hold of me is at amysingleton.net. All of my social links are there. I'm at The Real Amy Singleton on all the socials, but amysingleton.net, you can access my business website, my personal podcast, everything is there. And I'd like to invite your guests, anyone who's listening that wonders what's going on with my website? Like, how can I do better? Where do I stand with my website and my SEO? At the bottom of amysingleton.net, there's a form. They can fill that out, put in their URL, and I will have my team go over and shoot a video, a few-minute video, telling them how they can do better. Move this button here, make this say this. Here's what's happening with your traffic. And we can start a conversation about how they can improve their website on their own, or how we might be able to help with that as well.
Ooh. All right. So if you see Lee Jones,
that's good. Do it. Send it over. Absolutely. We'd be happy to do it. Please do. Absolutely. Be happy to do it for you.
All right, Amy, thank you so much for sharing your remarkable journey and insights with us today. And I really, you gave me a lot of lessons that I can, personally take with me as well. And you gave me plenty of knowledge on SEO and just how the whole the whole system works, right, from a Google perspective, right, or any other search engine's perspective. So thank you for those free masterclass tips, hacks, whatever you want to call it. And to the listeners, thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned for more episodes and insights and conversations on Hindsight the Podcast. Thank you so much.